Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our fourth annual conversation about accessibility. It's pretty remarkable that we are in our fourth year now. That means that this church has started a ministry that has caught on, that has reached and touched a community that really needs some TLC. And so these are really important conversations about accessibility, about making sure that everybody can get in buildings, and once they're in them, that they can access all the things that that building does. And also that they have a voice in society, and that we train ourselves to think about people who have a different set of circumstances than we do, entering buildings, getting places, transportation, education, family lifestyle, all kinds of different conversations. This is a big topic, which is why we can do this every year. So we're glad to see you for this fourth annual Accessibility Night. And we've got some returning panelists, some new ones, and a renewed conversation, and an important one. And now that we're a few years in, this year we have some things to report into you about some things that have happened because of this Accessibility Night, because of this committee, and most importantly, because of Jacob Hackett's leadership. So, away we go. My name is Reverend Dave. I am the pastor here at this church. Tonight, I happily call myself the tech guy. I will be over there, out of the way, except for this moment to welcome you and let you know that if you need to take a rest stop while you're here, the restrooms are right through this door. Women's are on the left, men's is around the corner. We'll have music at the end of the night, and for that, we'll ask you to turn your seats around. And don't worry, for those of you at home, I'll turn you around too, to the baby grand in the back of the room, and we'll enjoy some musical offerings as well. So, welcome. We hope that you feel welcome. We hope that you feel seen and heard and loved here, because you are. So we pray that this will be a night of celebration, but also a night that inspires us to become active and to start things that we can celebrate next year. So we're on our way, and let's go. Let's talk about accessibility. Ann Baker is going to be the first one to come up here and introduce our leader.
Our esteemed leader. My name's Ann Baker. I met Jacob a long enough time ago that I am in love with Jacob. I have known his grandparents for decades because I used to live in Absecon. But I talk about him. I do have a radio show, and this morning, as I have probably twice a week, spoken about this meeting, the accessibility meeting. And the only reason that I'm here and that you're here is because of Jacob Hackett, the man, the legend, the greatest guy. I said, you know what? You're gonna look at Jacob and you're gonna wonder, well, what can he do? And then you listen to him and you see what he's accomplished over these many years. Brilliant. Absolutely a brilliant mind. And for him to have thought of something to make all of us aware of the fact that having accessibility to every building that there is in this country should have been put in place back in the 1990s when the American with Disabilities Act was passed. And you know today, you can go into probably 95% of the buildings today, and if you are disabled in any way, you can't get in without someone's help. You can't get out without someone's help. So that's why Jacob Hackett is not only my buddy. I love you, Jacob.
I love you too, Ann.
But I hope you love Jacob too. And I hope you understand that Jacob is the man who has let all of us know, let all of us know just how important it is for someone who's disabled to find access to any building they wish to go in, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a federal building, whether, yeah, Lynn Caterson is over there. She's got something so special. But every single place that you and I can get into, Jacob has told us that he can't get into, and we're going to try to change it. But it takes each and every one of us to speak the words, to go out and say, this is what we need. When you see a politician, you ask them, what are you doing to make every single building in your town accessible to anyone who may be on a wheelchair, on crutches, with any disability whatsoever? We have a good friend, Anthony Lanzalotti, who's blind and has other disabilities. Anthony finds trying to get from one place to another to be amazingly bad. And yet they get where they need to go. It just takes them a lot more time. Jacob Hackett, I love you. Thank you. And I am so honored. I'm so honored to have had the chance to introduce you. And Reverend Dave, where are you? Okay, we are going to pass this off to, hi, I'm Ann.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. Hi, Zach. Ann.
Hi, Sal.
You sing.
Sometimes.
Okay, I just want to say thank you because I've been talking about it. I know Jacob's been talking about it. He's been calling into my show as well. I hope that each and every one of you talks to your neighbors and lets them know, because someday when we're elderly, oh dear Lord, don't look too close. Someday when we're elderly, we may break a hip. We may be in a wheelchair. We may be on crutches. We may lose our eyesight. And then we're going to wonder why we didn't speak up. But each and every one of you here will speak up. And perhaps your neighbors will also learn just what they can do to help others. Thank you. I love you. I love you more. I love you most. No, sorry. That's all. I forgot already.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Not elderly, just slow. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Lynn Caterson. I am also under Jacob's spell. I'd like to have two people join me. Jacob, postmaster of Landisville Post Office, and our postmaster here in Absecon. So it's Postmaster Fulin and Postmaster Manji. Will you come up, please? We have something for both of you. Look in the camera so they can see you. And if I read this, you'll figure out why they're here. Whereas in 2025, the ability of physically disabled people to get around on their own in motorized wheelchairs is increasing. And whereas one of the public places physically disabled people need to access is a post office. And whereas the Accessibility Committee of the Absecon United Methodist Church has coordinated a personal study of all post offices in Atlantic County. And whereas the only post office in all of Atlantic County found to have an accessibility push plate for a person in a wheelchair to use to open the post office doors is the Landisville Post Office. And whereas post offices are not regulated by the ADA, but rather the Architectural Barriers Act, which is the ABA, which does not mandate that post office doors have push plates for use by the physically disabled. Therefore, it is with profound gratitude that the Accessibility Committee lift up and honor the Landisville Post Office for its recognition of the needs of the physically disabled people by installing a push plate at the top of its ramp to the front door so that a wheelchair-bound person has ready access to open the post office doors. And this was done without any mandate by the law. We thank you so much. We've been spreading the word about Landisville. And so, County Executive Dennis Levinson said he proudly joins Volunteer Accessibility Committee in saluting the Landisville Post Office, which is 101 South Harding Highway in Landisville, in recognition and appreciation of its efforts to provide independent mobility with wheelchair accessibility for patrons of its facility, presented on behalf of our executive, Denny Levinson.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And Abseconites, we have a very exciting announcement that I just found out about tonight, and so I'm going to turn it on to our Absecon postmaster.
All right. It's I wasn't planning to be a speaker, but I just got actually a Absecon postmaster position a week ago, and I saw this invitation, and I realized that we need to do something in my office. I am trying to get in touch with people in district to see if I can make the accessible for the, for everybody. So I am working on it, and I hopefully by next year, when I come back here again, I will have a news for you guys. I can able to, Fulin is gonna help me out with how to set up everything, because of course I'm a new in organization, but yes, I'm looking forward to do some new work for you guys. Thank you.
If you could go stand behind Jacob so we can get a picture. This is a promo. They're gonna be behind Jacob, and he's gonna hold the plaques.
You're gonna have to lift your plaque up a little bit.
Okay. Congratulations, Landisville. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is Fulin Ritt. I am the postmaster of Vineland, and Landisville is a post office that I oversee. I just want to say thank you so much for inviting us, for recognizing us. A lot of people don't know how important it is. So just to have one post office in Atlantic County that is accessible to everyone, I'm very proud to be the postmaster of that office. And I don't know you all, but I could just tell by your attendance and your attention that this is really important to everyone. And I look forward to helping Manzi, maybe getting the Absecon post office also, accessible. So thank you very much. We really appreciate you inviting us and for receiving this big honor. We'll be putting this in the Landisville post office for sure.
That's all right. Jacob, who's next?
Who's next? Okay. That was funny. It is my honor to introduce this year's panel. We've all worked very hard, but before I begin, I have to thank, they're in the back of the room, my committee and Rev Dave for all that they've done over the last 10 months. So thank you. And now it is my honor to introduce this year's panel. To my right, please welcome my mom and Kathleen Barron. Next, please welcome entertainer Zach Taglioli. Please welcome the founder of Wigs and Wishes, Martino Cartier. Please welcome Heidi Bloom's golden buzzer, Sal the voice fella today. And last but not least, speaking of Sal, please welcome Kathy Saluccio, mother of Bobby Ritchie, and she will tell the story of Bobby's life.
Who's up first?
No, I'm first.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm watching the stream. So my topic this year, I wanted to talk about caregiving for someone when the main caregiver is not around. For many years, actually for my entire life, Mom has been the main caregiver. And she still is. She still does most things. But as I'm growing older, I've become more involved in more activities and events. When I want to go out, Mom always isn't available. So then we have to reach out to a member of my village, which most of you are here tonight. Thank you for coming. And not only do they have to make sure that they're okay, but one of the big things, as Sal and Zach know, is toileting in public spaces. Can you lift? Do we want to make sure that the bathroom is wide enough to fit a wheelchair in? Because let's face it, I was in a bathroom stall in a local high school in Wildwood. Talk about difficulty getting in and out of a bathroom. I was like, this isn't right here. So with Lynn's help, we actually reached out to the school and asked them about, hey, is your building accessible? And they said, well, it was around in the 20s, hasn't been remodeled since the 70s. And I was at ACIT. I actually ran into a teacher that worked in there, and I said, do you have an accessible bathroom? And he said, well, no. Wait till you hear this. We have one bathroom for our entire staff, and you have to wait in line to use the bathroom. I said, that can't be right, can it? And they said, oh yeah, that's how it's been for years. So then I thought, something has to be done. Rev, could you move to the next slide, please? I believe there's pictures in here. That is a bathroom. I was out with a friend of mine a few weeks ago. Jeff, be sure to tell your employees at Ocean they're doing something right, because that is a beautiful bathroom. I could, Wahlburgers. The one to my left is from the Ocean Casino in Atlantic City. The one to my right is in a hotel in New York City. And if you're looking at an ADA bathroom, that's how it should be done. I was very impressed with both of those pictures. So thank you to those hotels and Ocean for helping out the ADA community, because it's greatly appreciated. An audience member once told us a few years ago that one in 5 of you could wake up with a disability. There are many factors when caring for an individual. This is the point of tonight's presentation. Caregivers were never mentioned. One of our former panel members asked me, she goes, have you ever thought about mentioning caregivers? And I said, well, it's been brought up in little subjects here and there, but I've never really thought about making sure that that's a point of tonight's presentation, not only do you as the caregivers have to take care of the person you're caring for, but please make sure you're taking care of yourself, because the last thing you want is to be burnt out at the end of the day. And I've heard stories from these home health agencies that have essentially had people go from one job to the next. And then you wonder, how is that safe when you're caring for someone? Audience, I think we can all agree that that is not safe at all. So I hope that this message got some people thinking, and maybe the next time when you're caring for someone, just think of some of these things, because as I said, any one of us could have something happen to us at any given time. So thank you everyone for coming. Once again, please welcome my mom and Kathleen Barron talking about aging in place.
Hello, everyone. We're happy to be here for the 4th year. And Heidi and I are going to talk a little bit about aging in place. And this is a topic that really ties in with all the caregiving information that you're going to be receiving, because the plan to age in place is the most important, really the most important thing. Some of the checklists that we have to hand out and different information we have might sound almost like it makes sense, but I think the idea is that you write the plan in advance so that you know exactly what you will want to put in place as the years go by. If we go to the next slide, there's a definition of aging in place. That's it. And then the next slide. And it really is about the idea that people can age and remain in their own homes. It's self-explanatory in a way, but it also, you have to focus on what that really would require. And people are wanting to stay in their homes for independence, comfortable, be part of your community. And so there are a lot of agencies and a lot of different resources out there that can help make this happen if we start and we do the plan in advance. And here's just a list of some of the key aspects of aging in place. I don't know if you have experience with working with someone either with a disability or someone who is aging or someone who is hurt unexpectedly. And these are really the reasons that people plan to and want to plan to stay in their own homes.
One of the big things, if you decide to care for an individual in your home, if you're the caregiver, are many considerations. Home safety modifications, you have to make sure everybody is safe, not only the individual you're taking care of, but also yourself. Examples are like grab rails and stair railings and stair lifts and no-slip pads. And some of this sounds like no kidding, but if you forget and you're in that one position and you don't have that no-slip pad and you're taking somebody out of the shower, that's recipe for disaster. Also, medical and health support. Who's going to help with the medications, with the doctor appointments, keeping everything organized? Mobility and accessibility. Ramps, stair lifts, bathrooms, one-floor living. This, I can actually say from experience, is something that we're trying to do for Jacob now. It's funny, he's here fighting for accessibility every year, and our house is anything but. His bedroom and bathroom are on the 2nd floor. We don't have a chairlift. We don't have a ramp. And we are trying very hard to either find a house that we can accommodate him or make modifications to our own home. But being the person who carries him up 16 steps every day to go to bed, if something were to happen to me, there isn't a next person. So safety is huge, and that's where modifications come into play. Technology, medical alerts, power doors, Alexa, she's amazing. He would be able to tell Alexa to open the door, to turn the light off, to do whatever it is he would need to do. Basically, daily living support. Who's going to do the cooking, the cleaning, the bathing, the laundry for this individual? And then also the emotional and social well-being, both of the individual and of yourself. As Jacob said, don't ever forget to take care of yourself besides the individual, because when you can no longer do that, you can't do either role. Another thing to think about when you're considering someone to age in place, I'm looking for the stop sign, is if you can't do it in your own home, if you actually have to think about an institutional type of setting, what is the best one for them? What is the best one where they still feel like they have a say and they have a smidge of independence? Because once you put them into that type of facility, their independence then becomes the routine of that facility. So there's a lot of things, pro and con, both having them at home and also in a facility. To me, it's a very big undertaking to consider everything. Going through it now, and he's only 26, it's hard. If everybody who goes through this, I give you all credit. There is a saying that says, because I carry it well, doesn't mean it's not heavy. And I think that is true for many caregivers.
I believe we found you.
So Heidi covered some of the challenges of aging in place, and here's a list. And we also have resources in the back, both a checklist for modifications and also a lot of local resources that are available in our community. There's just so much to think of, and when you talk to someone who is doing it, doing the caretaking, you realize that you really almost need someone to come in and walk you through it. And according to the Department of Aging and Intergenerational Services, there are people that will talk you through this. Now, I haven't done it personally, so they do list a lot of the concerns and factors that Heidi talked about, that they will go over the idea of nutrition in the home and bringing the safety and all of the kind of services that we talked about. But we all know getting services is hard, and organizing that and coordinating it is a job in itself. So this we have the resources that you can pick up, and like I said, the checklist that you could go over, just ideas to jot down of changes that could be made or should be made or would need to be made in order to care for someone in your home or in their home, depending. There's a short video that will be part of the presentation. I'm not sure if it's in the next slide. But I'm wondering about the time people could have access to this, but it just has some ideas. It's 2 minutes, so we can watch it. Trying to stick with the time limit.
I'm Leanne Patton, and I have memory problems due to a deficit of oxygen during surgery many years ago. Okay, that's it.
iCare is really actually designed to help the individual who has some cognitive impairment and their family members who become remote caregivers. iCare allows them to have conversations with their loved one in their own home and allows them to set reminders, calendar entries, and helps them interact more in their life. So within the individual's home, what we have set up is an all-in-one computer system. That computer stays on at all time and is in a prominent location within their home. This helps you with kind of preserving that memory and being able to look back at it later on. In addition to interactive care, we have partnered with researchers at UC Merced who have developed these vibration sensors that unobtrusively collect information about activities within a home without any video or audio information. These vibration sensors allow us to determine a person's walking pattern, the activity level within the home, how often they come and go. And then we're working with UC Davis researchers to help us put meaning to that information.
I may not know that my mind has gone off the rails and I've said or done or gone somewhere that I shouldn't have. And her understanding of that, she's going to affect people around the world. And I am just grateful to the bottom of my heart. She's already helped me, and she's still in the beginning stages.
So I think we have to keep exploring all the options that are out there. The technology is just going to keep coming. We talked about AI last year. It's going to keep bringing new factors and possibilities to caregiving. And so we'll just keep exploring. We'll be back next year with the newest ideas that are around. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. We've all lost loved ones. Zach wanted to tell a personal story about his great-grandmother. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Zach Taglioli.
Thank you. And that picture was when I was 40 pounds heavier. I lost 40 pounds since then, so. Sal's not the only one that looks good up here. But no, thank you, Jacob, so much for having me here. Again, I believe this is my second time up here speaking, and when Jacob talked to me about this, it was clear to me right away what and who I wanted to talk about, and that was my great-grandmother. I don't know, do we have a picture of me and my great-grandmother? For those, anybody from South Philadelphia here? No South Philly people, okay. But basically that picture was taken during what was called a serenade, and the serenade in the Italian culture is when the husband and wife, my parents, were getting married, so that was taken with great-grandmom. And great-grandmom at that time started developing neuropathy in the legs, and mobility for her started to decline. I was blessed to have her in my life for 18 years, my great-grandmother. And who's holding her up there is my grandmother, Mary Ann, and she became the caregiver. My grandmother worked for many, many years in the home health aid field as a scheduler. So she was very familiar with the day-to-day tasks that caregivers do. But she never thought that she was going to be the person who had to be put in those shoes and take care of her mother. But she always knew that she never wanted her mother to go in a nursing home. So when that time came, she had to make a really hard decision on whether or not to stay with her job and put her mother in a home or quit her job. And my grandmother decided to do the right thing in the end. She quit her job, moved her mother from South Philadelphia, the home that my great-grandmother was born in, was raised in, raised her kids in, and eventually passed away in. And I asked my grandmother, I said, during that time, what were some of your day-to-day tasks that you had to do? And she said that she had to do a lot of getting great-grandmom out of the bed, and she said that you have to make sure you lift them properly. You have to stand in front of them, put your arms underneath them, and have them lift up by hugging you. And she said it was a lot of work, but she wouldn't trade it for the world. She said being a caregiver allows the person you are caring for to always know that they can count on you and there's a place to feel safe. And that was important for her to know. But there was a lot of challenges. As great-grandmom got older, she lost a lot of weight, but it was dead weight. And for my grandmother, it was hard at times to lift my great-grandmother up, but she had the support of my father, my aunt, my mom, my dad, me. There was many, many times where I would tell my grandmother, I would say, you need to go out. You and Pop need to have a night out. I said, me, Mom, Dad, we can take care of great-grandmom. And that is something that I think many caregivers have to realize, that although you're caring for this person, you also have a life too, and they need the support of family. That was the biggest thing. And my grandmother comes from a family of 4. She had 2 sisters and a brother, and she was the 4th child. And you would think, having 4 children, great-grandmom was going to be in the best care that she could be in. And that wasn't the case. My grandmother did all of the work. And my great-grandmother had 3 other kids, but it was my grandmother who took the bearing of it all. So when I was speaking to my grandmother, she said caregivers need support. That's the biggest thing. And I asked my grandmother, I said, how is this on your mental health? And she says that it was devastating towards the end. She said that great-grandmom's wish was to be back home, in the home that she was born and raised in, and which aging in place, going back to that place where they feel comfortable. And she said that it was very tough having to distribute towards the end, when great-grandmom was on hospice. Morphine was the biggest struggle she said that she had to face as a caregiver, and it was devastating to her. But she would sit in a chair and sleep by her side and be there and make sure that great-grandmom was getting all the care that she could get possibly. And my great-grandmother would scream in pain, but my grandmother had nothing to do but to give her the morphine and just be there for her. But one of the blessings that I had was, before she passed away, I was set to go off to a senior trip. She passed away senior year. And the mind was always there, but the body started to decline. And as she was on the bed, I remember speaking to her in her home in South Philadelphia, and I said, I really don't want to go on this senior trip. I want to be here with you. She said, no, Zach, go, go, go. Be with your friend. She's like, I will be here when you come back. And I got the call on a Wednesday that she was declining, and she couldn't speak, but she could hear me. And I landed that Friday in Philadelphia, and my best friend, I was actually in a wheelchair at the time, Jacob. I fractured my ankle, so I was the first one to get off the plane. And I saw my dad there, and nothing really registered in my brain. I'm like, what the heck's my dad doing here? He's supposed to be back in Hamilton picking me up. But Dad said that it's time, that great-grandmom is starting to decline. And we drove over to her house, and she was there. I was the last person she got to speak to, and I could cry just thinking about this now. She got her wish, and I got my wish to speak to her. And then that Saturday morning, she passed away. I told my grandmom, I said, as a caregiver, what are some of the lessons that you would want to tell people? And she says that she was strong enough to do it even though she was hurting inside. And I believe it's Robin Williams who says that everybody's facing a challenge. Everybody that you look at may look good on the outside, but in the inside, they're facing a challenge, and they don't always speak up about it. So my grandmother's words for those of you tonight who are either caregivers or will eventually have to be caregivers to your mom, your dad, your loved ones, is to be dedicated, have patience, have love, and most importantly, have support above all. Thank you, Jacob.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Zach. They say people are a part of your village for a reason, and boy, am I grateful he's a part of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor that he drove all the way down from New York to join us. Please welcome Sal the Voice Valentine.
Thank you, Jacob. Jacob asked me to come tonight and speak about the challenges that my family faces in caring for my cousin Stefania, who is nonverbal, autistic, and she has some physical difficulties as well. And it's especially fitting this year that we're talking about caregivers, because just outside of the frame, to the right of the photo, is my Aunt Maria. And my Aunt Maria has been the sole caregiver for my cousin Stefania for as long as we're both on this earth. My cousin and I are just born 6 weeks apart. And so I know personally and truly what it is like living with someone with disabilities. My family is of Italian American descent, and so we do everything together. Vacations are about 25 people deep. Holidays require us selling out the entire Home Depot of folding tables and chairs. And so we're a tribe, and we always have been. And I grew up watching my Aunt Maria care for my cousin Stefania, and making sacrifices on a regular basis, making concessions, and then of course, like I said, because we are a tribe, teaching my mother, my Aunt Antoinette, my Aunt Netta, my Aunt Cynthia, all of the different intricacies and more importantly, how they could help my Aunt Maria in caring for my cousin Stefania. And the reason why this year it's so fitting to speak about this is not just because this is our 30th birthday this year, but this year my aunt's mother has developed an advanced and aggressive stage of dementia. My aunt's mother lives about 8 houses away from my aunt on Long Island. She's been a part of my life for my entire life, of course. And recently, her dementia has worsened to a point where they've had to start making decisions on her care. My aunt, because she lives so close and because her sister lives upstairs, up until this point, they have had no help whatsoever in caring for my Aunt Anna. But this recent decline in her health has forced them to make the decision to have an aide. And one thing that my aunt has said now is she recognizes the reasons why someone might not be able to age in the home. Number one is because of accessibility. Because Anna's physical decline is such that she needs to be in a chair, there are now doorways in her home that are inaccessible. And these are not things that you think about when you're renovating your home over the years, living in it and paying it off. You don't think, well, I should probably make these doorways wider. She could no longer reside in the bedroom that she shared with her husband for the past 27 years in their home because the hallway leading to it is too narrow for her chair. More recently, they hired a caregiver, an additional caregiver, to be there during the night because my aunt has admitted that, it's extremely difficult to be a caregiver for two people and for two people to need you 24/7. My aunt has now taken steps towards, okay, well, what happens when I'm no longer around to care for my daughter? It's enough that I have to care for my mother and daughter at the same time, but what happens when I'm not around? And looking into the possibility of entering my cousin Stefania into a group home situation at some point. My aunt and uncle have made some, decade-long friendships with the parents of other people that my cousin Stefania went through school with. And with those parents, they have put a trust fund together to purchase the group of, shouldn't say children because they're all adults now. We're all turning 30 this year, or have turned 30, to purchase them an accessible home and to fund the proper care thereafter. One of the most important things, and Jacob spoke about this, Heidi spoke about this, is to find time for yourself as a caregiver. I think that often enough, people become burnt out. And if you're burnt out, then you can no longer provide the level of care to the person in your life who needs it that they require. If the quality of care declines, then their quality of life declines. And that's not something that you ever want to happen. I see it, Jacob mentioned that Zach and I have both, been in a situation where we have to help Jacob get around, but I see it with Heidi, and I think it's pretty incredible. I've said this before, that she can just toss Jacob over her shoulder and move him around, because as slight as Jacob looks, it weighs as much as a ton of bricks. I don't know where this guy is putting all these cheesesteaks, but they turn him into a brick of lead. Heidi mentioned that their own home is inaccessible to Jacob, that there are certain aspects of their home that makes it very difficult for Jacob to even, use the bathroom or go to bed. And as a caretaker now, Heidi has to consider, well, do I sell this home that I raised my children in, that my family has shared many holidays in for several decades? And she's now at the point where they're trying to now find a house that's accessible, and even that is difficult. To find another house, because there's always going to be challenges. I didn't realize what was involved with accessibility until I saw the Field of Dreams, until I saw the very, 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 almost things that would seem like a minute detail, the different points of accessibility, whether it's a doorway or even things you wouldn't think about. On a baseball field, getting from the dugout to the field, there's typically a mound of dirt or a piece of metal that runs along the dugout cage that doesn't exist at the Field of Dreams because it would make it inaccessible. So that's another aspect for caregivers, is to make sure that your home has all of the things that keep it that way. Stefania's difficulties do not end in the home. Another thing that would make it that would ease some of the worries that my aunt has as a caregiver is if the world around her were more accessible. And Stefania is mobile on her own 2 feet. She could walk around. And so I don't mean accessibility in the literal sense. In other words, to access a building or to access a restroom. Accessibility, in my mind, extends to our social and government services. I've witnessed many a time where Stefania wanders off and certain security services or even law enforcement services have a difficult time communicating with and finding Stefania's caregiver in that moment. And so I think that we have a long way to go when it comes to accessibility in law enforcement, in our social services, making people who deal with the public on a regular basis more aware of different disabilities and different communication tactics, and having the patience that's required. I think that, as a caregiver who can't be around 100% of the time, Stefania goes to program during the day. She goes to camp during the summer. One of the things that worries my aunt the most is what to do, what's going to happen to my daughter when she is not with me, when I'm not there to explain to someone that she has a disability or explain to someone that she has a sensitivity to touch or sound. What happens? What happens if the caregiver in the camp or wherever she's going is not properly trained enough? And so, that's an all-encompassing aspect of accessibility. But I have overextended my time. I want to thank you all. I want to thank Jacob for having me. And I'll turn it back over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Sal, as always. My next guest, when I put tonight together, and I was thinking about including Bobby, Kathy and I had a conversation. Who were the important people in Bobby's life? And she mentioned this next guest, and I said, let's do it. Please welcome the founder of Wigs and Wishes, Martino Cartier.
Good evening, everyone. Bobby, I'm your biggest fan, buddy. I know you're Sal's biggest fan, but I'm yours. I think I'm going to shift gears after listening to everybody tonight, especially because we're in a church, so I don't have to filter how I really feel. A lot of people in the Bible had dreams. And most of the heroes and kings in the Bible were some of the worst people that ever lived. And if you were to judge yourself against King David, you'd say, well, I'm a lot better than him because I never had an affair with Bathsheba. But those people that God used in the Bible changed lives. So I think what happens with us as humans is that we always think, I wish somebody would do something. I wish somebody would make a difference. And I think so many times we forget that we're that somebody. Field of Dreams was a dream of Jacob that came true. Sal had a dream to get the golden buzzer. It's not a joke. I can't imagine what it was like that day, wondering what's going to happen when I'm done singing. Imagine the anxiety. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, or I'm just assuming. And then for Heidi to hit that buzzer, his dream came true, right? And then one day, I meet a little boy who has cancer and up syndrome, because there's nothing down about Bobby. So I refuse to call it D syndrome. I call it up syndrome. And this boy and his family have a dream to meet their true idol and hero and beat cancer. I don't know the hero, and I don't know if he's going to beat cancer. I just have a dream to try to find if we can get to that idol and if we can get to God and we can beat cancer. And then guess what happens? It all worked out. That is what I think of when I think of having a dream, trying to make a difference. Do I know what it's like to be a caregiver? I do. My uncle lived with me. He passed away a few weeks ago. He had a terrible life, and he's with the Lord right now. However, he was never married. He never had kids. He had every illness known to man. He had osteosarcoma. He had, what's it called, G? The man, do you know the poster, you see the dog with one eye, one leg, and they say, name the dog Lucky? God forgive me, but that was my poor uncle. And he just hated people because he had Parkinson's and he was embarrassed to shake. So we built this handicap accessible part on the house with a stair lift. So I already called my mother, well, my wife called my mother. It's 12 steps. You said you need 16. Take the 12, it's there. Nobody's using it. You can have 12. You only have to carry 2 at the bottom, 2 at the top, or maybe somebody can add on to it. But if you need it, it's yours for Zach. But my point to this story is, when I started Wigs and Wishes, it was because, you go through life as a hairdresser and you listen to everybody's story. And everybody has a story. Some you want to hear, some you don't want to hear. But whether you want to hear it or not, you hear it. And you find out that all these people have similar situations, like what you shared, like what you shared, like what you shared. And you realize if God gives you a platform to make a difference, you make a difference. Now, Jacob's extraordinary because you have done more than most people that have had the opportunity to move mountains. You've done more than they have ever done in 2 lifetimes. So you are extraordinary, and that's why we're all here, because he's extraordinary. But what I want to leave with you is when Bobby's dream was to meet Sal, I didn't know if we were going to be able to make that happen. I had no clue. But what I do know and what I do remember and what I will never forget is the day that Sal came out on stage and Bobby screamed, "Mommy, Sal's here!" I think we have a video. We have a video? Let's play that video. I think it's a good time for that. Leukemia and Down syndrome.
Please put your hands together and give the warmest welcome to Bobby Ritchie.
My boy. Is somebody outside? Thank you. Hold high five. I remember you told me you like this guy named Sal Valentinetti, and he sings My Way. Do you really like him? Well, do you like him a lot?
I like you a lot.
You like him a lot. Well, I have a surprise for you. Take a look at the screen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Sal the Voice Valentinetti.
How you doing, pal?
Good.
Good?
Yes.
Yes? Are you excited?
Yeah.
Good thing I didn't drive all the way to Jersey for nothing.
Mommy.
Mommy, Sal's here. Okay? This is why there's a night of Wigs and Wishes, ladies and gentlemen. Cue the music. Do your thing, baby.
Could that somebody be Bobby tonight? There's a tugboat down on the river.
So the takeaway is this. I had a dream. I believed and I prayed and I hoped. And this man has an amazing heart and he made it come true. But what he did that I never thought was ever going to happen was that he did it again over and over and over and over and over and over. Madison Square Garden, Broadway Theater, and without asking. So that's what defines you as a human being, what you do with your time, your talent, and your treasure. Not sitting and hoping and praying that someone does something. What defines you is being the person who does it. And that's why God made you. So you can't wake up every day and proclaim Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and not be the hands of your Lord and Savior. So thank you. I'll leave you with this. I went to Israel a few weeks ago to serve over there because there's so much anti-Semitism in a world that forgets Jesus was a Jew. And I thought this is a good way, having a little baby at home who's right there. His name is Israel, and he loves Sal too, so you and Bobby have a lot in common. And, I went and I served the IDF, and I served hostages that had been released, and I was in harm's way. I was in bomb shelters, and there was F-16s flying over my head, and I put the whole thing on my social media. You can see it. And everybody said, I can't believe you're not Jewish, and you're here in Israel serving, and why are you here? And I said, because if I don't, who will? So my question to you tonight, if you really want to make a difference with ADA compliance, I understand that new construction is ADA. We just built a new building, and they are on it like white on rice, and everything, and the grab bars, and I'm glad they are. But to your point, the house that was built in this and that and hadn't been touched in 1970 and this and that, and there's restaurants that are like that. So if you want to be a difference, you have to use what God gave you. Because if Jacob can build the field of dreams, you can be a voice for him. That's why God put you on this earth. And that's why we're here tonight. So may God bless you. And if you or somebody you know is battling cancer, go to wigsandwishes.org.
Thank you so much, Martino. And now I have the honor, please welcome Bobby Ritchie. Yeah. Come on. Would Sal or Martino, would one of you read that? Because I can't. Oh. I can't see what that says.
Yes. I got it. Bobby is known as the mayor of Harrington, and it's easy to see why. He brings positive energy wherever he goes, always greeting his peers and staff with high fives in the hallways and the cafeteria. In the classroom, Bobby consistently puts on his best effort and works hard on every assignment. He is polite, friendly, and always makes those around him feel welcomed and appreciated. Great job, Bobby. We're so proud of you.
Yeah.
All right, Kathy, no, I'm good. You can start now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's such a privilege to be here, and thank you, Jacob, for giving me this opportunity to share Bobby's story and most of all, God's faithfulness in Bobby's life. So, I'm a little nervous. I'm going to read from the paper. Bobby has gone through a series of health issues in his little life, and our faith in the Lord has carried us through each one. From the initial diagnosis of Down syndrome, I trusted in God's word and how God saw Bobby. Psalm 139:13-14 says, "You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made." I carried this verse with me in my heart, and it would squash any fears or doubts that would arise and replace with God's peace and joy. Then Bobby was diagnosed with leukemia at age 4, enduring 2.5 years of chemo and long hospital stays. The days and nights were hard through the treatment. I remember the words my wonderful pastor, Phil Moser, had preached. If you find yourself in a place you never thought you would be and you did not want to be in, worship the Lord there. And that is exactly what we did. At every hospital and clinic visit, Bobby would play his favorite song then, which was Amazing Grace, on his iPad and sing to all the doctors and nurses. It brought me so much joy to see the lives Bobby touched just by singing Amazing Grace to them. I know God used Bobby mightily for his glory through the cancer journey. And my wonderful pastor, Phil Moser, is here tonight with his wife, Kim, and he walked by our side through the whole journey, and I thank them for that. Many hospital visits. In fact, I think we have a couple clips. Oh, here, Pastor came the day after Bobby was diagnosed, and they sang Amazing Grace together. Oh, here it is.
Sing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I was blind. But now I see. Good job. Good job.
And that particular day, the pastor and I, we didn't know what was in store, but we trusted, and he told me to hold on to the verse that God's grace was sufficient for us, that God's power would be made perfect in our weakness. So that was our verse every day. So I thank you for that. So unfortunately, more health problems arose for Bobby at age 8. Bobby was born with a dysfunctional bladder that did not fully empty. It had taken a toll on Bobby's one working kidney and had caused damage. Bobby had to undergo several surgeries to keep his bladder empty and had to learn how to catheterize himself daily. Thankfully, doctors at CHOP constructed a channel from Bobby's belly button to his bladder to catheterize. It was a very difficult time for Bobby. And the verse I held on to was Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. So even this, as hard as it was, I had to trust that God would work good through it. And God did show me so many miracles daily. In the midst of Bobby's difficulties with the catheterizing at age 10, Bobby woke up one morning, not himself at all. But this was one of God's biggest miracles in his life. He was withdrawn. He did not speak or hug and was in his own world. After 3 months of hospital visits and tests, doctors had no answer for me, only that they had seen this regression come on suddenly with some people with Down syndrome. So I was completely devastated. I knew that the only way to help Bobby was through prayers. So God had put on my heart to form a Zoom prayer meeting scheduled for the following day. Countless friends and family joined in and prayed for Bobby's healing. 3 days after the meeting, Bobby woke up and hugged me for the first time in 3 months.
Yeah, Mommy, yeah.
Yes. For the first time in 3 months, the Lord had brought Bobby back. He answered our prayers, and I thank God every day. Yes. So Bobby is 13 now and presently in the latter stages of kidney disease. Doctors are preparing us for a kidney transplant, possibly in Bobby's teen years. Despite the fact that he has only 25% kidney function, God is sustaining him, and he's feeling well now. Bobby was finally able to participate with the Special Olympics swim team, which he absolutely loves, which he just swam this past weekend, the Summer Games. He sings his heart out each day in the middle school choir, and he loves singing with his special friend Sal. Yes. So now I'll share the amazing story of how Bobby met Sal. Along Bobby's cancer journey, God blessed us with the support of several pediatric cancer organizations. One of them that is dear to my heart is the Ashley Lauren Foundation. And it's founded by Monica Vermeulen. They came to our home to visit Bobby on his 6th birthday. The wonderful staff member asked Bobby what gift he would like for his birthday and what his hobbies were. I told her Bobby loved music, the old Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin songs that my husband Anthony would have playing. And he would love a microphone. Yeah, a microphone. So a few days later, I received an email from the Ashley Lauren Foundation inviting us to the annual night of Wigs and Wishes. They told me that Sal Valentinetti would be performing. He sings Sinatra songs and that he is amazing. Just turned out Bobby had already loved Sal after watching him sing My Way on America's Got Talent. He had watched his video over and over and over again. So, of course, we were so excited to go. Little did we know that there was a surprise waiting for us. Martina was planning on granting Bobby a wish to meet Sal on stage that evening. That night of Wigs and Wishes was more exciting than we could have ever imagined. The kindness from Martino, Paula Abdul, Sal, Monica, and each person involved with Wigs and Wishes was truly the most amazing gift to Bobby. Just 2 months later, Martino asked if Bobby could introduce Sal at Madison Square Garden, where he would be performing One Night with the Stars, a benefit to support the Wigs and Wishes. Sal was so gracious to not only have Bobby introduce him, but he also shared the stage of the Madison Square Garden with 6-year-old Bobby. It was thrilling and so emotional. They sang My Way together. Since then, we've been fortunate to see Sal perform in different locations, and he's always graciously invited Bobby up on stage to sing the final song of the night, My Way. And we're also blessed to have become friends with Martino and his beautiful wife, Gianna. Where did she go? With the baby. They both live their lives to serve and bring joy to others. And it's been such a privilege, and I've been so blessed to meet Jacob through Sal, they're special friends. And I thank you, Jacob, for giving me the privilege to share Bobby's story and God's faithfulness. Thank you, Jacob.
Well, on that note, hey, Bobby, would you like to sing My Way with Sal tonight?
Yes!
Priscilla, you bet your... Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our director of music, Priscilla Cunningham. Guys, take it away.
Come on, pal, me and you. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friends, I say it clear, I'll state my case,
Case
of which I am certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway. Hey, much more than this. Take it, Bobby. I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do, and I saw it through without exception. I planned each charted course, each step along the byway, and much more than this. I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and I spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it my way. I did it my way. I did it my way. Bobby Ritchie, come on. Oh, you, cousin, I love you, cousin. Ready? Take them out. Let's take a bow. Come on. Come on. Bobby be back for his curtain call in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I want it.
Thank you both very much. Okay. Anyone have questions or final thoughts? Yes, Ann Baker.
Me, you touched. I can't imagine you didn't touch everyone here. But I especially liked the part, I think, Martino, you mentioned this, where we have to find a way to make sure that a child who is in need and who cannot take care of themselves, or an adult who cannot take care of themselves because of dementia or something else, that we have to be able to know where they are, that the police have to be made aware with something like we see with diabetics, with people who have illnesses, they wear something around their neck to let people know that I'm failing here, but I'm sick and this is what I have. And I'm just wondering whether there's anything out there available for anyone with any kind of disability, because we've seen tragedies occur when cars have been stopped and there is a person, an adult, fully grown, who has something wrong with them and don't know how to behave, don't know how to react, don't know what to say, and become violent even at times when questioned.
I was just going to say, I know if you have a person who elopes, which could be a person with dementia, it could be a kid with autism, the Atlanta County Sheriff's Department has a free program where they can put a tracking device on your ankle or your wrist. It's not exactly what you're talking about, but like I said, if you have somebody who elopes so they don't end up in the intersection, there is a way to find that person, hopefully before tragedy hits.
I know they're trying to put together a list. In fact, they're asking families to give up the names of people in their families who have a disability of some kind.
I just want to say that if everybody, let's put it like this, okay? I was 5 years old, lived in the Florida Keys. All my friends were senior citizens when I was 5 years old because I lived in Key Largo, Florida, right? And Jim and June Antel were my neighbors on 222 Camelot Drive in Key Largo. And I came home from school, second grade, and June had passed away. And I was devastated. And I wanted to go see Jim. And my mom said, "You can't, it's too soon." And that little boy in me, and my wife can tell you the story because I never let my mother forget it. I said, "Mom, if nobody goes and visits Jim, then Jim's going to be alone." This was my 7-year-old brain back then. So I snuck out of my house and I went. We lived in a double-wide mobile home on a canal, and Jim and June had a house on stilts. And I climbed up the steps and I knocked on the door, and Jim opened the door and saw this little scrawny Egyptian kid that looked like Mowgli from the Jungle Book, and he broke down crying, and Jim was by himself, and I embraced him. And he thanked my mom that I went over. I share that story with you because if everybody says it's too soon, or it's awkward, or it's this, then nothing happens. My wife and I take care of our neighbors right now, Jim and Fran, 90 and 92. And they live 2 doors down. And so to answer your question, reach out to your neighbors. Reach out to your community. This is a church. If this church has a congregation, there are people in this congregation that have mental illness. There are people in this congregation that are widows. There are people in this congregation that have someone that lost a child. Be that outreach. That's what I said earlier. Be the hands and feet of Christ. And keep a record of those people. Thank you. Reach out. Text them. It's our job. It's my job. It's your job. So if you can't rely on the county. I love the ankle bracelet thing, but I mean, how many people do you know have one? I mean, I wish more did, because they sure need them. That's great. That's awesome. But in my town, we just had a 10-year-old kid commit suicide because he was being bullied recently. It's actually 1 month ago. And we had the funeral at our farm because the parents didn't want it in a funeral home. A 10-year-old little boy. So all these things are real, whether it's anti-verbal, whether it's Down syndrome, which I call up syndrome, like I've told you, or whatever the disability is. Or maybe it's just they're hurting. It doesn't have to even be a disability. Hurting's a disability. Let's face it, right? We need to be the hands and feet of Christ, whatever that means. Make yourself available to anybody who needs you at any given time. And together, as a team, as a family, as a body of believers, you'll make a difference.
Yes, Lynn. Yes, Lynn.
Our Assemblyman Don Guardian meant to be here tonight, and he was unable, but he sent his assistant, and I believe he might want to say a few words. Brett?
Please welcome Don Guardian's aide from District 2 here in Atlantic County, Brett Barton.
Thank you for having me tonight. It's always wonderful to be invited. And Jacob, I just wanted to say you always do out the next year. The next year is always better than the year before. So I just wanted to give Jacob a round of applause. If we could just give him a round of applause. I hope that I'm entertaining tonight. It's not going to be as good of a rendition as My Way, but I just wanted to give you an update on a few different bills or some legislation that's been moving through the halls of Trenton recently that's related to disability and accessibility issues. So just relatively recently, actually on this very point, regarding a list of residents in a community. This passed through the Assembly relatively recently, actually last month, which is an opt-in for parents or family members who would like to have a family member put on a list with the first responders in town, police, fire, EMT, if they have mobility issues, they have communication issues. So that moved to the Assembly. Another bill that also has become law at this point, the MVC does have a designation now for those on the autism spectrum and those with communication issues, where you can have on a driver's license or a non-driver's license an indication to law enforcement that they are going to have issues communicating with them if there was ever a stop. So that was another piece of legislation we were happy to support. And I just wanted, one of my favorite bills that we sponsored in the Assembly is one for a disability savings account. And for those who may be aware of what was set up about a decade ago, where you have a tax advantage savings account, you can contribute into it quite a bit of money and then be able to retrieve the interest and the growth over years, kind of like a Roth IRA, but specifically for spending on disability-related items and for wheelchair or for assistance around the home. And our bill would make it a dollar-for-dollar match from the state in addition, so that there was an additional contribution you could make, and as well as make it fully tax advantage, so you would be able to take out deductions from your income taxes. So we're very proud to support things like that. And I wanted to just offer one more story about how important all this legislation is that we pass in Trenton, but it doesn't really result in anything unless there's enforcement. And it's something that I tell our summer interns right now as they've started for the summer. If you don't, you can tell someone what to do, but so long as there's no one there to compel them to do it, they often don't follow along. And so I live in Atlantic City, and so I'm going to pick on the city for just a second here. Who's familiar with like the Lower Chelsea neighborhood in Atlantic City? They just replaced the bulkhead, right? So we just replaced the bulkhead in the Lower Chelsea. And there's no ADA ramps, there's no ADA cuts. And the city claims that, yeah, absolutely, we're in compliance with federal law, but there's nothing there for blocks and blocks and blocks. You can't get up there even on a bike, on a wheelchair, and a skateboard. Nothing can get up on that walkway that's from Jackson all the way to Annapolis. And they're starting on the next phase from Albany Avenue all the way to Morris. And that's near my house, and we're trying to make them at least comply with federal law, that they should have some curb cuts there on the corner, but it's tough to even get that. So I just want to encourage those to contact your representatives, contact our office. I'll be here also at the end if you want to talk to me, but make sure that you keep in touch, because we want to hear about some of these issues, some of the issues faced in the community, because if we don't hear about it, we're always happy to come to this event, but we want to make sure what are the issues you're facing so we can create some change in our state. So thank you.
Thank you, Brett. And I'll just add to that, the line is cliche. If you see something, what do we do, audience? Say something. Any comments, questions? Yes, Bethy.
Well, in the last year or so. Oh, I don't really want this. Okay, but anyway.
Just talk.
My husband, he had to use a wheelchair, and he can't get around like he did. What I noticed, and I don't know how you do it, but the doctor's offices, you can't get in the doctor's offices. He goes to, in Galloway, he goes to the blood doctor, the oncologist, AJ. That door is so heavy on the outside, and you got to pull it this way. Then you go in, and then you got to pull the other one. It's very awkward. And if you don't have somebody that happens to see you, or, even if you're pushing, it's still, I can't imagine him getting through the door at all. Yes. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. And they're doctors' offices. And a lot of these, the people that have leukemia and things like that, a lot of them are in either walkers or wheelchairs. And and that's what really, these are places that really should be accessible to people. And you don't realize it. Exactly. Yes. But see,
360 turn. But the places that are there, like the one you just said, it's crazy. That's insanity.
To urgent care.
Yeah.
And I could take him to
When-
the door, but then I needed help getting him through the door.
Now, what if you weren't there?
He would be sitting outside.
Yes, and if you file a complaint by law, they have to file up with it. There's something called an OPA report. And you know what that is, right? So an OPA report is where if you go to your township and you say, I want an OPA report for everybody who filed a complaint that this urgent care is not ADA compliant. By law, they have to tell you everybody who filed that complaint. And because of that, they have to follow through with every complaint. So if everybody here filed a complaint, they do something about urgent care. It is crazy.
The other thing too, I was saying that we're looking for a new house for Jacob because we would love to have a secure place for him to age in place. So he has a home forever, even after something happens to Chris and I. New construction, unless you request it, is not EPA compliant. The doorways
They don't have to be.
They don't even make them there anymore, unless there's certain things that you would think because people are living longer that might become standard in building a new home, but it's not. And I don't know, like you just said, like unless you think of it, unless you're faced with it, you don't think of it.
I think what happened with the post office is an example of the difference you can make. We found Landisville. We didn't complain, but it's been noted that they're the only ones, and now Absecon may well comply. But I also wanted to say, Jacob, you haven't mentioned David Akers. David Akers was giving a message at Ocean City Tabernacle last August. And if you saw on your invitation the picture of Jacob, that's David Akers beside him. And David desperately wanted to be a part. I'm not going to share something that you can't find on the internet. Lightning struck his house. The whole attic caught on fire. And what the fire didn't destroy in his house, the water did when they put out the fire. So he has no home and lost everything. But because he knew how important tonight was, he had his manager, I think you call him, send an email that Jacob has in front of him.
Yes, I do, and I will read this here. David Akers greatly enjoyed meeting Jacob Hackett at the Ocean City Tabernacle and is sorry he was unable to be a virtual part of this accessibility event. He knows it will be a meaningful and very important event for all concerned with helping those with disabilities and wishes everyone Godspeed from David Akers. Of course you may.
This goes back to what Sal was saying. In Atlanta County right now, there are new training programs from special educators to train police officers how to deal with kids who are nonverbal, or kids who have communication difficulties, or kids who have behavior difficulties. So there are finally, in 2025, strides being made to teach police officers how to deal with those who may appear non-compliant when that's just who they are.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Heidi had mentioned the bracelets, and Martino brought up the very great point that there shouldn't be a need for bracelets. There should be training. I think if you're in a position of public service, that you should know to recognize the signs and symptoms of someone who is struggling, either who is on the spectrum or has a physical disability. I had a conversation a few weeks ago with my best friend. He's a police officer in Nassau County, New York. I watched a video of a disabled firefighter with a traumatic brain injury get pulled from his car and arrested because he wasn't answering the officer's questions quick enough, and he seemingly wasn't complying. That officer did not recognize and to the officer's credit, he mistook the symptoms and signs of a traumatic brain injury with impairment and non-compliance. So the situation escalated very quickly, and so I immediately called, I watched this video and immediately called my best friend. I said, what kind of training do you get in the police academy to deal with people who might have a disability in general? And he said that his training directs him to contact an ambulance immediately. And I said, well, what training do the paramedics have? And they said, well, usually certain people are taken to a wing of the hospital, of the local hospital that's meant to deal with people with psychiatric patients. And we know that that's not the case, that not everyone who is non-compliant or seemingly disabled needs psychiatric care, and in some cases that could exacerbate the situation and make it immediately worse. So that's why I brought up, because that was followed up with a conversation with my aunt about how, that's a whole thing that happens out in the world. One more point, and then we have to wrap before I get the stop sign again.
Don't worry, Linda won't catch it.
Martino brought up the fact that we all have not only a voice but a duty as Christians to go out in the world and affect change. While we were talking about urgent cares and the doctor's office in Galloway and all this, I heard rumblings from the crowd. And what I can only make out was every single person has been to a business, whether it's in this county or a neighboring one or elsewhere in New Jersey, where they've experienced the lack of accessibility. And Martino just gave you the key. If you complain, it will get fixed. So tomorrow, when you have a minute, make sure you complain, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Am I right? Thank you. Okay.
May I make one quick point? I found an app, and I want to talk to Rev Dave about doing this possibly with the church. There's an app out there called Roll With It or Roll With Me. They will show you accessible buildings all across the country. I found everyday restaurants that we go to. ShopRite is on there. So if you know the business, let's get it started.
Amen. Amen. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun. It is 8:45, believe it or not. And one thing that we talk about every year is that sometimes you're on a time frame when you are at the mercy of Access Link or whoever's driving you. And Jacob's bus is going to be here in a little bit, so we got to get him ready to go. We like to take our picture, but also great to hear that some things have happened since the last time we had this forum. So thank you all for your support and help. But clearly there's more work to be done. And there has been a simple 3-word message behind our panelists all night long. Love your neighbor. And that's what it's all about. Love your neighbor. Who is your neighbor? Everybody, right? Everybody, especially the forgotten, the overlooked, the silenced, those who are in the greatest need. That's who your neighbor is. And our commitment together has to be to follow the footsteps of Jesus Christ and speak up for those who have been ignored and silenced. And we're doing it, but there's more work to do. So this is our challenge. Good job. Let's keep going. Amen? Amen. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you. Sal, as always, thank you. I love you. Sal, can we take a quick picture?
I'm going to grab Bobby for a photo.
Kathy, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.